I'm Corbett Wall with DB Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 30th, brought to you in part by Joplin Regional Stockyards. You know, Joplin's a big high volume market throughout the year and always in the top 3 in receipts nationwide. But this week is probably their biggest week of receipts. I realized last Monday they had the big yearling special with over 100 potloads of yearlings, but they've got another big special here today, this Monday, 8,000 head, about 40 loads of yearlings included in there, and then the regular run of calves. And then Thursday, this Thursday, the 3rd, they've got 6,000 head of weanback calves on their weanback value-added special. So there's 14,000 head of feeder cattle right there. Then after the weanback special on Thursday, they got a primetime video auction with 5,000 head on offer there. Wednesday they'll have a pretty good run of cows. Show me another place that markets that many cattle in a week's time. Be hard to find one. But you know, looking at how our markets have been and kind of the ways of feeding cattle over the last several years, there's not been a lot of money made in it. It's been kind of a poor investment. We've had quite a struggle with our leverage and trying to get a decent trade out of the packers, and it's just been kind of tough. But the one thing that has been kind of in the cattle feeders' favor is cheap corn prices and cheap grain, cheap feed in general. Of course, the droughts have made it kind of tough to get any kind of roughage put together, but still, for the most part, pretty cheap cost of gains. And now we're getting where that's not necessarily the case. Our most recent Chicago Board of Trade corn futures, December closed at 425.5. March closed at 433 3/4. Now that's not super high, but compared to what it's been the last several years, that's getting to be some pretty high corn. You know, we don't feed a lot of beans, but the bean products we do. January beans sitting at 1191 3/4. March sitting at 1192 3/4. We're getting some pretty high feed costs out of here. And you know, I remember Bill Simmons, longtime order buyer from the St. Joe area, used to love to listen to him talk, and he'd always say, you could roughly guess what the cost of gains are going to be by just doubling your front figures on your corn. So if we do that, we're looking at about 85-cent cost of gains at least. Now, we have been running quite a bit cheaper than that, and a lot of your farmer feeders that do a lot of it themselves and probably don't value their corn high enough, you know, over the last several years, they said they've been getting cost of gains in the low 60s. Now, that's grazing cost of gains right there. It's hard to believe how they could do that, but we've been likely running a lot of cattle in the low 70s on a cost of gain. Well, now we're looking into the mid to high 80s. And if we happen to run into some storms this winter or something, it's not going to be very long before we push these cost of gains up over $1. So that's definitely going to change things. And you might think, boy, that's going to make this cattle feeding even harder. But actually, if you hear folks say that's been around for a long time, high grains equal high cattle. You think, well, how would that make you know, when you got high cost of gains, you're going to back up on your feeder cattle because it's going to cost so much to feed them. And we are seeing that on the initial part of that, because we're seeing you know, some of the best prices that we saw this past week were on the heaviest cattle, and you see cattle routinely weighing in the 9s, bringing the same price as the bulk of your 6-weight cattle. For that, you know, as far as per pound or by the hundredweight. And so you think, well, that can't be right. But when you see these higher cost of gains, folks are going to want to get them off feed. So they're not going to hang on to these cattle like we have for the last several years. We've even in that short span of time caused people to kind of raise different kind of cattle. You know, cattle that you can make weigh 1,700 pounds and things like that. And routinely we're seeing a lot of people that take cattle to 1,700 pounds, and you even hear of some deals that are heavier than that. But these cost of gains, and your cattle are not as efficient when they get heavy like that. But these cost of gains getting higher and higher, and then you know, the chance of getting into a storm and pushing them up over $1 or something like that, that's going to change things, and it's going to take a while. But these guys are going to put cattle on their show list at lighter weights. They're not going to go into that inefficient heavyweight gain there, and because we have seen over the last several years, it was just as hard to get something bought back and to get them going again as it was on the cheap cost of gains. So they would just soon hang on to those cattle longer. But it's not going to be that way here going forward, because likely we're not going to see these grain prices go back down. We're done with harvest now. We had a great harvest, but it's things that are outside of that. We've had China buying up so much of our cheap grain, and that's a lot of our supplies have gone to that. We're not in a spot where we're short of grain products, but there's just big demand for it globally. South America has had some awful dry years. They haven't been offering as much of it up for the rest of the world either, but we're likely to see these grain prices stay somewhere around where they're at now, or even get higher as we go forward. So you're going to see people start marketing cattle maybe at 1,400 pounds, which in the whole scheme of things, historically, that's still pretty high. But just think how much weight that would take off the table for your packers. And if we start doing that, and you're going to have to force them to take them. But if guys are going to keep marketing cattle a little bit lighter, and it'll take a while to start getting that done, because your packers, they say they, over the last 20 years or 30 years, they've said they wanted cattle to fit the box. No, they like those big 1,700 pound cattle. They get a big carcass, they can discount you for that, and then they've got all this product, and we sell meat by the pound, so it's all this tonnage that they've got. Tons of pounds of beef out there, and if they need them to fit the box, that's what knives are for. They'll just lop the end of it off and it fits nicely in the box. So it's going to take a while to start getting them to take them lighter, but guys are certainly going to want to sell them lighter as we go forward with these higher cost of gains. Now we look back to start the week here. We had a bullish cattle on feed report. We were scared that it wasn't going to be bullish because the average of the analyst guests had it tweaked pretty hard to the friendly side, but we even beat that. So very bullish, and the board responded very well early in the week, and it was a pretty good week for a holiday week, holiday shortened week, but we did market several feeder cattle, even though it was a holiday week with your holiday kind of falling into the middle of the week. And we did harvest quite a few cattle, and we gained a buck in your fat cattle market. So you can't really complain about that for a Thanksgiving week. Let's look at your board for last week. December live cattle futures, Monday was up $1.90, Tuesday was up $1.17, Wednesday up 20 cents. Of course, Thursday was Thanksgiving. Friday down 75 cents, but still December live cattle futures ended the week at 110.62. That's up $2.52 for the week. Nice gain there, better than the cash market. February live cattle ended the week at 113.25, up 260. Now feeder cattle, Monday, they really gained good after that last Friday's cattle on feed report there. Monday was up $3.22 on the board. Tuesday was up 77. Wednesday back up 157. Thursday was a holiday, and then Friday off just 35 cents, so not bad. And your January feeder cattle contracts ended the week at 139.82, up $5.22. Wow. Now we didn't get the chance to take advantage of that last week. So a lot of that gain is likely going to be seen this week with the gains on your live cattle and feeder cattle futures. But your March feeder cattle ended the week at 139 even, up $4.63 for the week. Talk about your fat cattle trade. I mentioned that we gained a buck. We sure did. We gained $1 as your established price late in the week on live cattle, and $2 dress. So that's pretty good. Through Thursday, they'd marketed 57,800 head through your 5-area feeding region. A little bit of trade on Friday. It's going to get up there almost to a normal type of movement through the week, but pretty darn good for a holiday week like Thanksgiving week. But live steers and heifers sold from 108 to 111. Your market end of the week was mostly 111, but your weighted average was pulled back a little bit, 110.17. It'll be a little bit better than that with the addition of what little Friday sales we had, but your market's 111. Dress sales, steers and heifers, 171 to 176, but your market late in the week, the established price dress was 174. Your weighted average falling a little bit back from that at 173.39 on dress steers there, but it will also get helped out a little bit when they include the Friday sales. And on the Friday sales, Iowa about 2,300 head from 108.5 to 112, so a big spread there live. Dress sales in Iowa on Friday, 173 to 174. Nebraska, 1,300 head, 111 live price, 171, 174 dress price. Kansas about 1,200, all at 111. Texas about 800, all at 111. 111 is the market. Box beef cutout values, your packers can't complain too much. They're really dragging out this seasonal rally here and gaining it in bunches. Look at your box beef, your weighted average on last week's prices on choice cuts, 243.45, up 894 compared to the weighted average from the previous week. That's a big time gain, almost $9 there on choice cuts in a holiday week. Selects 219.70 on the weighted average for all of last week's select cut sales, up 594 compared to the previous week's weighted average. But it was a holiday week, and your buyers are kind of, they're shrugging back from these big prices that your packers are setting on these wholesale cuts. But 450 loads of cuts, grinds, and trimmings is pretty light, but you'd figure that on a holiday week. Slaughter, pretty decent, 361,000 for last week. That pales in comparison to the week before because it wasn't a holiday week. But compared to the same week a year ago on Thanksgiving week, 348,000. This past week was up 13,000. So they're wanting to crank that up a little bit to fulfill all these obligations they've got on contracts here for the next few months. Let's talk about what else is going on. Western video market, you can watch on DV Auction. We take the online bids for them, but they're out there in California. Really good outfit. They're your main video market when you get west of the Rocky Mountains there. But this week on Tuesday, they've got a big video auction. It's normally in Reno. Those bigger sales they'll have at Reno at the Nugget or one of the other casinos there, but due to the COVID and everything, they're going to have it there in Cottonwood, California, at Merle Haggard Commission Company there. But they got a good run on there, about 24,000 head they're going to offer. And we're going to congratulate Ellington Peak. He's the longtime founder of that and owner there at Cottonwood, California. Ellington Peak celebrated 70 years of marriage to his bride there, and Ellington's such a great guy. If you guys don't know him, you're really missing out. He's got a great book out, but I've really enjoyed getting to know Ellington Peak over the last few years. But he's all about Western Video Market, and his son Brad also. And they've got that 24,000 head on offer this week, guys, and everything on there is going to be weaned calves or yearlings. But they've got a lot of lightweight weaned calves. If any of you guys out on the West Coast have any grazing out there, they've got some lightweight weaned calves, some bigger weaned calves, and some hard yearlings on there. And not going to be a baller on the sale at all. So don't forget that. Don't forget on Monday here also, Callaway Livestock Center, Kingdom City, Missouri, Jack Harrison and company there. They've got a big sale. Got a lot of good cattle, a lot of yearlings. I saw the list. Got some good calves on there, but a pretty darn good sale here on Monday. And then Thursday evening, going to have another one of their huge cow sales. He said people just keep calling on cow sales. And, not very far to the east in Bowling Green, Eastern Missouri Livestock, they had a big cow sale on Saturday. But, guys are just getting out. And I tell you what, especially in Missouri there, I've been around Missouri a whole lot. And the average age of your cowman's well into his 70s out there. And, they see another winter coming. They think, what the heck, I'm just going to get out. So that's going to continue to trend across the country. But don't forget those big sales at Callaway Livestock Center and Western Video Market. Both of those you can find on dvauction.com. View and bid right there. All your Western Video Market. You can also get on the phone there with them, or on Callaway Livestock, get on dvauction.com for the Monday regular sale and the Thursday cow sale. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market for last week. Real-time index on DV Auction ended the week at 139.93. That's scaring the heck out of 140. We haven't been there for a while, but that 139.93 was up 2 cents from the previous day. Now your real-time index, which is always up to date and current, it's $3 out ahead of your latest CME cash feeder cattle index. And you think, my gosh, what's going on there? Well, they run really tight, but CME has fallen behind because of the holiday there. Hadn't got the information in for market news. These special sales, I can't tell you, when we get around Thanksgiving and then when we get around 4th of July, and a lot of it has to do with Green City Livestock Marketing and Burwell, Nebraska. They always have specials around there. Both of those markets on dvauction.com. We've got their information pumped in there. It's going to elevate your market on your index there, because a lot of your other sales are having lighter runs around. Of course, Monday in Joplin had that big run with a lot of yearlings, but a lot of your regular sales, your regional markets, run on kind of a light receipts due to the holiday. And whenever you get those big sales from those reputation deals at Green City and Burwell, both of them having big specials there, it's going to elevate your index, and it throws your traders for a loop, your commodity traders for a loop every time it happens, and you wonder where it's going to land. I'll tell you where it's going to land, right where the real-time index is. That's always up to date and current, and they probably should be using that instead of the lagging behind reports anyway. But 139.93 is where it landed to end the week. Let's talk about your market in your auction sales last week with the trends for the week. Most of your cash feeders and calves ranged from steady to $5 higher in a lighter test, because many of your sales didn't have as big a run due to the holiday. And you know, those people that work in those feed yards, they want to spend time with their family too, so a lot of them aren't going to be around to work those cattle whenever they arrive. So you know, they back off on the receipts, and your buyers kind of back off a little bit too. But steady to $5 higher would pretty much cover all your yearlings and all your calf deals too. But some of your stick out deals there late in the week. How about Winter, South Dakota, Winter Livestock, 3,300 head there, about feeder cattle on late in the week there on Friday. 55 head, 529 pound steer calves bring $176 in Winter, South Dakota. That is a heck of a sale. I told you about Burwell, Nebraska. Burwell had 6,300 head. You look at the automated market report out of Burwell, and on Friday there, and it was a heck of a deal there, especially a day after Thanksgiving there. But look at this sale. And these weighted average prices, these are all the cattle in those weight groups that we haven't went in there and plucked them or hand picked them or segregated them or even gate cut them. These is all the cattle that went through the sale there. And look at your best tested weights. 1,011 head of 5-weight steers in Burwell, Nebraska, average 556 at 169.64. That's so far beyond your best quote in most sale barns. It's hard to believe, and that's on over 1,000 head of them, all the 5-weight steers they had at Burwell on Friday. 1,300 head of the 6-weight steers in Burwell, average 648 at 159.60. Now these quotes are sharply higher. Of course, they didn't have as big or good a test a week ago, but sharply higher market there. Look at some heifers. 697 head of 5-weight heifers, average 542 at 151.63. But the top quote that actually wasn't on that automated auction report because it weighed over 1,000 pounds. The top quote, the exact trend top quote of the day on Friday last week, Burwell Livestock Market, 340 head of 1,031 pound steers, big feeding steers, bring $144, and they were not program cattle. And that's your feeder flash for Monday.